Thanks for joining us for this special edition of NBC5 In Depth. I'm Brian Colleran. With Election Day quickly approaching, this morning we are joined here in our studios in Plattsburgh for a debate, a discussion between the two candidates looking to become the city's next mayor here in Plattsburgh. Democrat Wendell Hughes was elected as a Clinton County legislator in 2020, representing Area 8, which covers parts of both the city and the town of Plattsburgh. Republican Don Kasperzak served as the city's mayor from 2006 to 2014. He was also a Common Council member, what used to be an alderman, in the late 1980s and early 1990s. Now, here are the rules for this morning's debate. Each candidate will have 1 minute to answer our questions. There will also be 30-second rebuttals offered at my discretion. Each candidate will also have 1 minute to give a closing statement. Thank you both for being here this morning.
Thank you.
Let's start with public safety. Earlier this year, Plattsburgh experienced a murder close to downtown. It was a late night shooting, but it put a lot of people here on edge. The city's police chief recently retired. He was the fifth to retire or leave the position in the last 8 or 9 years. The question to you here this morning is, who will you hire for the next police chief? How will you fill that position? And can you assure the people of Plattsburgh it is a safe place to live? Mr. Kasperzak, let's start with you.
Well, Brian, first of all, thank you and WPTZ for hosting us. I don't think I could answer that question in 1 minute, but what I will tell you is we do need strong leadership in our police department. There has been what I call chaos. I believe there's got to be some consistency in the leadership we have there. And until we find the right person, I think we're going to be really struggling with a lot of challenges. Plattsburgh's changed. We need leadership now. And the bottom line is this: if I am reelected as mayor, we're going to have an open process where we will have the community leaders help us find and interview the most qualified individual that we can find, male or female. And when that happens, I think you will see, with another strong mayor as well, some changes down there that are very much needed.
Mr. Hughes, how would you fill that position of police chief?
Well, I think first we have to figure out, and thank you, Brian, for doing this, and Channel 5 too, so I appreciate you guys doing this, and ladies. We have to find out who's interested. I mean, I want to know the list of candidates. I mean, it's hard to tell you who we're going to hire when we don't have a list of candidates. Mm-hmm. I mean, we need somebody that's strong. We got to have somebody strong that's community oriented. It's got to be community oriented. Yesterday, I was down at the old farmers market, mm-hmm. where the bus depot is now,
right.
And took a walk around there. I went under the bridge. There's probably 150 needles under there. Mm-hmm. I mean, we have to. I mean, we can't stop this. Let's face it. I mean, this is an epidemic. This is bigger than Plattsburgh. But these are the things where we have to address these things. And not just with police, mental health and addiction professionals as well.
And we're going to get to that here in a moment. For anyone who drives through downtown Plattsburgh, like I did today, you notice that there are several storefronts that are empty. Buildings like the old bank on Brinkerhoff have not been used for years. The town seems to have a plan to take state money and form a city center through the Downtown Revitalization Initiative. So the question for you this morning is, how do you return the vibrancy to downtown? How do you recruit to fill those spots? Who are you looking for? Local businesses, regional chains? Mr. Hughes, that question is to you.
We're looking for anybody that wants to make Plattsburgh better, right? I mean, at the end of the day, it's these Restore New York grants. We stumbled on those last year. We can't continue stumbling on these things. We have to bring these in. The boutique hotel would have been a lot better idea than an empty bank on our tax mm-hmm. rolls, right? It would have paid a lot more and a little tax relief for everybody in the city. So we have to be more diligent in bringing these folks in and finishing the deal. We have to be workable, we have to be open, and we have to involve the community.
Mr. Kasperzak, how do you revitalize the downtown here in Plattsburgh?
Well, I think the first thing a new mayor has to do is have a discussion with Prime. We all know that name. Obviously, the project that they shared with the city and the public wasn't acceptable for many reasons. And I think if they come back with a scaled back project that makes sense, doesn't affect parking, promotes that area on Durkee Street, I think that starts the process of hopefully people being interested in coming downtown with those storefronts that are empty. I spoke with the college president last month. He basically said that he would like to work with us, with his students, to have some programs to help us with that. So, you know, there's grant funding, obviously, and we have to make sure that that is utilized, obviously, first and foremost. But it also has to go forward and not stall like it has in the last few years.
I want to point out that last spring the Common Council passed on sending an application for a Restore New York grant. They're recircling and taking suggestions until Tuesday for more ideas on that. So we'll see how that goes, depending on who the next mayor is. Let's talk about housing. You both have talked about seeing more people who are homeless. The latest point-in-time statistics from the state show that the number has increased significantly since the pandemic. The city does not have a homeless shelter. Does it need a homeless shelter? Would you use a state grant to pay for one, or would you seek out a public-private partnership? Mr. Hughes, let's start with you.
I think right now we're getting ready with the county is looking at MHAB for a warming shelter. And I think that's a great start. I think the county has to be more involved. The city and the town should be involved as well, but the county has more resources than the city does for that. So going forward, I mean, you drive around the city, the homeless communities have grown everywhere. I mean, you go over by Battleground Memorial, you see some over there, you see them all along, down by the mouth of the river. They're everywhere. And it has to be addressed. It's
a big issue?
It's a big issue, and I'm not going to pretend like I know the answers, because I don't do that to our folks in our city. Yes, you drive around, there's a lot of homeless folks that are unfortunately struggling. Quite frankly, I hate to say this, every community has this situation. Do we have housing for them? I don't believe we have it now. Are we going to in the future? I don't know. I think the public-private partnerships are needed to address this. And also you have to look at the mental health aspect of this. It's not just because someone is homeless. There are people that are struggling in all sorts of ways, and that is important too, to work with those folks. So I can't tell you what the answers are, but I can tell you that we have to address it before it gets completely out of control, and I think any new mayor will do that.
Let's talk about the debt that the city has. You both have talked about it during the campaign. I think the number floated around is anywhere between $40 to $45 million. Yet the city says that currently the outstanding bonds will be paid within 7 years or by 2030. The latest report from the state comptroller says that the city's fiscal stress score is only 3.30 compared to 2017 and 2018, where it was in the 60s and the 50s. So the question to both of you is, if this is an issue for both of you, if you feel like it's an issue, how do you pay down the debt quicker? What is your plan to do that? Mr. Kasperzak, let's start with you.
Well, let's just say that I first brought this up and everyone was quite surprised that we have long-term debt at that number. Reports are interesting. They did say from the comptroller's office that we are in solid shape financially. Mm-hmm. What they didn't say was any discussion in the report about long-term debt. And quite frankly, if any mayor comes in here and they want or need to borrow money for some projects that are necessary and needed, and you have outstanding debt out there, it's going to be more difficult. The interest rates now are much higher to borrow money and pay it off. And quite frankly, I think what someone has to do, and if I'm reelected, what I will do is go through and look at all our long-term debt projects and see if we can delay them. We don't want to do that all over the place, but we have to really look at those and see if we can delay them, and that is better for us in the long run.
Mr. Hughes, how would you pay down the debt quicker if it's such an issue?
Well, paying it down and not creating more is, I think, the whole key, right? We have to be more aggressive with grants. I mean, there's a lot of infrastructure money out there that we haven't got back to in Plattsburgh for some reason, and I don't understand why. But I will be diligent looking for more federal and state aid coming back to the city of Plattsburgh. A lot of that money being bonded was for infrastructure money. And, you know, we did the base, we did downtown. A lot of that money got bonded, and we just have to be more diligent. I mean, we have two federal senators that represent our area. We have a Congress lady. We have to be on them. They have to bring back something for us.
Quick follow-up. The mayor released his proposed budget. Real quick, have you looked at it?
I looked at part of it. When I was first elected, we had about $800,000 in our general fund. He has much more than that. And by the way, when I was first elected, our payroll per week was $300,000. So just do the math and you realize we were in real trouble back then. I'm not quite sure everything in there, but I've got to look at the capital project list before I make any other comments.
Have you looked at the budget?
I looked at it the same, and how much of it is spendable?
Right.
How much of it isn't spent already?
Okay.
I mean, I don't have those answers. I can't get those answers until I'm there.
Okay. Let's move on to Parks and Rec. One of the major issues you hear from people who live here is the lack of things to do for their young families. Several years ago, the city disbanded the Recs department. The mayor's latest budget says that there are, quote, gaps, and they need to find partners to fill those gaps. You both say the Recs department needs to come back. How do you get that done? Mr. Kasperzak, let's start with you.
Well, you have to have a commitment by the council as well as the new mayor. And what I'm concerned about is that I'm not sure if this council, when they pass the budget, are going to include several positions that I think we need. I think we need 2 to 4 positions in there. We had a full staff when I was mayor. I don't know what happened after I left. I can tell you that I met with the town rec folks. I've met with some people that worked for the city. Brian Bissonette retired. And quite frankly, there are some great ideas out there, but people want recreation and parks. You go door to door, and the young families want their children to have something to do. And I said it when I first started and vowed that I would do something, and I'm going to.
Mr. Hughes, what does that look like, bringing the Recs department back to the city?
I think we have to do shared services with the town, county. I think we need to start involving everybody. Our Plattsburgh Little League isn't Plattsburgh Little League anymore. It's the Clinton County Little League. The other towns, we just have to get all together. We have to figure this out. Because this is a countywide thing. We can get, and in the city, I think we can join with the town in a lot of capacities and put a product out we don't have right now.
Okay.
I mean, not just for the kids, for seniors. They do a lot of stuff in the town that I'm really envious of. And not every kid can kick a soccer ball.
Right.
Some can paint the field better than I can ever think of. So we need to incorporate arts, and it's more, to me, it's more than just rec. We have to come up with solutions that keep our kids busy.
Let's talk about working with the Common Council. Over the last several years, we've seen quite a bit of infighting on the Common Council and their dealings with the mayor, accusations of lack of transparency, members walking out of meetings while they're taking place. No matter who's elected in November, how are you going to work with the Common Council to advance the city in a positive way? Mr. Hughes, let's start with you.
Communication, collaboration, compromise. I've been stressing these 3 C's since day one. That's what we need to do. I'm not going to bring it to the press and fight it in the papers. It's going to be done face to face. They did a few things. They just voted some training down, and I wasn't a big fan of it. I called each of them. I understand why. I'm not saying I agree. We're not always going to agree on these things. Right. But we had really good conversations, and I understand what they did. And if I was mayor, I would say they would have had all the answers that they were basically looking for. And we wouldn't even be having this discussion.
Mr. Kasperzak, how would you work with the Common Council? Because I know you've said in the past they might not like you much.
Well, I'm not sure they like me or not, but I know that every one of them endorsed Wendell, so I think if we are successful, that I hope they'd like to work with me. This is very simple. I had no problems with communication, sharing information, being transparent. I was accused of having too open an administration. And I'm proud of the fact that we did not have these issues, okay? There were 3 Democrats and 3 Republicans. So it did not happen under my watch that way. I'm not going to change my approach now, and I am hopeful that if I do what I'm telling you all that I'm doing, which I'm not going to change, I believe every single counselor that's ever been in that position should do what's in the best interest of the majority of our residents, taxpayers, and business owners. And I'm not sure that's happened because of a lot of this, the last 2 administrations.
All right. On that note, we're going to take a quick break here and continue with this mayoral debate when we come back. We continue this morning here in our Plattsburgh studio with the 2 leading candidates for Plattsburgh's mayor, Don Kasperzak and Wendell Hughes. The Common Council last summer was considering putting the city manager vote on the November ballot. They decided there wasn't enough time for the public to weigh in, and voters rejected the idea in 2016. Would you consider reintroducing the idea during your first term in office, if elected, to adding a city manager to the city to City Hall? Don Kasperzak, let's start with you.
Well, during my history, in Plattsburgh, they've had 2 votes on that, and it has been resoundingly no. Okay, quite frankly, that was the public. There's a committee that has been set up, and they're studying this, and they're going to bring it forth. Quite honestly, I don't need a city manager. I've been there 2.5 terms. I've been on the council. I feel very confident with the department heads that I worked with. Some are still there. And the city chamberlain is the person that is most important in that regard. The bottom line, however, is if this is brought to the public and they support it, I will absolutely do my best in a transition period as the mayor to make it work. So that is not an issue. The only other thing I will say is I don't think our city really needs at this point another $180,000 full benefit package for a city manager.
Mr. Hughes, would you entertain the idea of a city manager? How would you utilize
We've been asked this a couple times.
Yeah,
we both
I know.
answered basically the same way.
City can't afford it?
The city can't afford it, and this committee will see where they come with their recommendation. I mean, if
Right.
they recommend it going to the voters and the voters want it, they get it.
Right.
If they say, if they vote it down, then it's a non-issue.
Neither one of you supports the idea prior to it going to the voters. Is that kind of you?
Well, I can tell you that I don't think I need one.
Right.
Okay, so right now I would say I don't support it, but again, I'm going to say what I said earlier. If the public wants one, we will make it work.
And the same, you don't,
Same.
don't
No,
support
I
the
mean,
idea.
I wouldn't be running if I didn't think I could do it.
Okay. The Crate Center, the decision to bring down the 50-year-old building was controversial. The mayor broke a tied vote to demolish the Crate, saying it didn't serve a purpose, it was a financial burden. What would you like to see there? What is your plan for that beautiful piece of property within the city of Plattsburgh? Mr. Kasperzak, let's start with you.
I've had many businessmen approach me on this, actually when I was mayor, because people were not always pleased with the Crate Center. I would not have torn the Crate Center down. I think that we need a facility like that in the county or the town, and we all should get together and build one and spend the money on it for our community. That aside, people have approached me about a smaller amphitheater there, okay, and bring concerts in, but they'd have to be between 3,000 and 5,000 attendance because you only have one ingress and egress.
Right.
It's not like SPAC where you've got 4 or 5, so that's never going to happen that way. Would I support other ideas? Sure. I don't know if a hotel would go there or not. The city owns the property. You also have to remember there's a dump there forever, even when I was 10 years old, along where your old offices were all the way to Skim-Ocean Creek. That will be an issue if you do some real construction on a big project.
Okay. Mr. Hughes, what would you like to see on that property at the Crate near the waterfront?
I would like to see all the plans we've done. They've got to be in a room down at City Hall somewhere. I'd love to get down there and see all these plans. But I mean, honestly, the public has brought up many times while walking, they'd like to see a small concert venue. There's so many things, but it's got to be public-private partnerships too out there. We have to get. There's so many. There's those 16 day site or 20 day sites that's on that one side that we let run into the ground. I mean, the old fireplaces are still there that were right next to the Skim-Ocean Creek. It's such a beautiful piece of property. We just have to make it. So I mean, I love it. I go out there in the wintertime. I walk from, you start at State Beach and go all the way to the creek and back. And I just love it out there. You see eagles and there's so many things.
Let me follow up with both of you. If you're elected, are you going to move quickly on coming up with a plan or exploring a plan for that piece of property?
Well, if I do that, then what about our police situation? What about our crime situation? Right. I think as mayor with experience, you can juggle a lot of things at the same time. Okay. I do believe that we should have a public-private partnership out there. I think a lot of things can happen at the same time, but you have to remember the Common Council is your partner.
Yeah.
And they've got to be convinced that we're going in the right direction with what's out there too.
Same?
Yeah, as a locally elected official with experience myself, I would be real happy to, take that on out there. I think, but you have to prioritize. It's got to be prioritized. I mean, there's certain things. The police chief to me is got to be number one. It's got to be number one. We got to get the right person in that office.
Let's talk about hotels. The city lacks any hotel downtown on the waterfront. And there have been discussions over the last couple of years about putting one, whether it be at the Crate Center or near the marina. Do you support that idea of putting one down by the marina? And if not, why so? Mr. Hughes, let's start with you.
It's got to be the right project. I mean, there's so many drawbacks down there. I mean, we've talked about the train. If a train ever broke, I mean, how do you get down there for emergency services? Right. So are we going to invest in an overpass or, there's so many different things. If the project was right, I mean, and somebody wants to invest in the city of Plattsburgh, you have to be excited, right? But it's got to be the right deal for the city.
I believe that whatever project is brought forward, we listen to it, we share the information, and ultimately with the council, you make a decision that you hope is in the best interest of the city of Plattsburgh. I think that a downtown hotel or project on Durkee Street should be considered. I am not sure at the beach if that is going to happen right now off the top of my head. I think there are some challenges out there too, but it would be beautiful if you could blink your eyes and everybody had hotels all over the place, and that means that things are going fine and there's more revenue for the city.
Right. You mentioned Durkee Street. Let's talk about that. That's the next topic I want to hit here. There was a lot of excitement in this city 8.5 years ago when the city was part of the first round of the state's Downtown Revitalization Initiative, also known as the DRI. It's been an 8-year struggle ever since. Durkee Street is still a parking lot. If elected, do you get on the phone with Prime and work on a plan for some additional housing and a mixed-use development? Mr. Hughes?
Well, without a doubt. Yeah. I mean, there's still $4 million in the grant, and I want to see that money spent here in Plattsburgh. And the downtown community has to be involved. It has to be a project that works for the city of Plattsburgh. It can't work just for one or two. It's got to work for the city of Plattsburgh. And I think sizing it, there's so many different aspects to that. And it's got to work for the city of Plattsburgh. And you got to have that community involvement. And I think that's where we've lacked a lot. The transparency and there's so many people out there with so many great ideas. It's just, last night I spoke to a lady and she was at a little different topic. Reverse 911 for the snow plowing, for the when the lights go on.
Right.
Just little things like that. I mean, and that's what you get when you talk to the public, So, but yeah, we have to keep the public involved. And I think moving forward, if we had the right size project, I think we could have something there.
Durkee Street, something needs to go up there, right?
Absolutely. I believe the communication wasn't the way it should have been initially. I'm not blaming any administration, it's just a fact, because if you looked at the history of this and the litigation that's been, I can tell you the hundreds of thousands of dollars that the parties have spent, including the city, just because it wasn't going forward. And whether it was too high, whether it addressed parking, and that coalition group didn't like that, or it was going to affect them personally downtown. I understand all that. But if Prime comes back with a scaled down project that makes good sense, we meet with everybody, there's going to be detractors. Listen, there's no question about it. But if a majority of the folks in this community support that, then absolutely I think that'd be the right thing to do.
All right. Let's take a breath. We're going to do a lightning round here. 5 words or less. What is the city's best selling point, Mr. Kasperzak?
Waterfront.
Mr. Hughes?
Safety.
Safety. Who are you going to vote for in the presidential election, Mr. Hughes?
Harris.
Mr. Kasperzak?
I promised I wouldn't discuss that or state politics at my press conference, and I'm still staying that way, but the people who know me well understand what I'm thinking.
Okay. Who makes the best Michigan, Mr. Kasperzak?
Well, I can tell you this. I have 3 families that I think the world of, okay? Obviously, the McSweeney's folks, Ronnie's, and Clarence Carl's, and if you think I'm going to make a choice, I'm not going to because they're all my friends. I'll tell you what, though, sometime you should ask Michael Cashman about that because he seems to have a whole month of Michigans,
Yep.
and no one ever asks him what his favorite is.
Who makes the best Michigan?
My wife.
Your wife.
Oh,
that's
that's a
that's
good
a
answer.
really good answer.
My wife.
What is one thing Plattsburgh needs that it doesn't have, Mr. Hughes?
More recreational opportunities for our kids.
Mr. Kasperzak?
Recreation and a stronger police presence in our community.
All right. Time for closing statements. Mr. Hughes, you have 1 minute. You're up.
Excuse me. It's surreal to be sitting here talking to you. You know, for me, I grew up on the north end of the city of Plattsburgh, and it's just every day I wake up, and it's amazing. I'm just blessed, and thank you everybody out there that's taken time to talk to me, and it's been a great experience. I mean, win, lose, or draw. I mean, I'm going to be a better person at the end of this, and I am really qualified to do this. I own a home in the city. I understand the struggles of homeowners. I do, and I just want to work for the city of Plattsburgh. I have no ulterior motives for this, other than the fact that I want to do this.
Mr. Kasperzak, 1 minute for your closing statement.
Well, this is the 6th time that I've campaigned, and going door to door, personally listening to people. You're lucky that people feel comfortable and tell you what they really would like to happen in the community. I've rekindled old friendships, created new ones. But the fact is, if you listen to the folks, they want somebody who communicates best with everyone in the city. They want someone to listen. I have that history. I have that experience. There is no question that serving 2 terms as an alderman and almost 8 years as the mayor, I believe that makes the difference in this campaign. And that is no criticism to Wendell. That's just something I have. And I believe that might make a difference when the time comes to vote. And I hope people really look at that piece and think it's really important to have a mayor who's got experience.